I'm going to tell you the story of the first time I got my period, which I'm not sure if you know, but I'm going to give it to you in just graphic detail.
So I have a story to share with you about when I was in year 9.
So do you remember there was a time when I was very young when you all went away to New Zealand and I stayed home? I was probably 14.
Yeah, your sister was 10.
Yeah. So 13. There you go. So I was 13. When you guys left to go to New Zealand, that was the first time I got my period. Home alone.
Right. And I'm surprised your mother didn't have a discussion with you about that.
She didn't, because you guys were on board. Mom!
Yeah, where are you?
So I was sitting in homeroom and I felt the feeling of my period coming on, and I didn't have anything with me. Like, I wasn't wearing a pad or tampon or menstrual cup or anything like that. And basically, it's my most embarrassing story, because when I stood up, I had bled through my school dress, which was white as well, and it was quite obvious what had happened. And I had my very best friend Amelia sitting next to me, and she grabbed her jumper, wrapped it around me. We went to the bathroom. She got me a new school dress. It was fine. We could move on. And then about an hour later, even with wearing a pad, it happened again.
How'd you cope?
Not well. Logistically, I was like, shit. I've got my period. I have no family around. I had all my friends who I was meant to be staying with overnight, and I'm going,
scary.
Yeah, that's like a no-no.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I have to figure this out. I have to go get sanitary products. So I walked up to IGA at Castle Crag.
Yeah.
For 13 years old. The cashier was an 18-year-old boy.
Ooh.
And I scanned my pads, tampon. I didn't know what I needed. I just got everything.
Right.
Own pocket money.
Did you pay the luxury tax?
Absolutely, back then.
That's all I want to hear.
So not only was I robbed, humiliated. So I had to do that. I came home. I taught myself. I Googled everything. I taught myself how to do everything. And that's the story of my first period.
That is still like my single most embarrassing moment of my life. Like, I feel shaky even talking about it now. And one of the reasons why I'm telling you that is because 67% of Australian and New Zealand girls would rather fail subjects at school rather than have their classmates know that they're on their period. So I guess hearing that story, what do you think needs to change?
Attitudes to it can change. I mean, I guess it's one of those things that is never really expressed in a way in films or anything like that. Like, we've come a long way in terms of our understanding of sexuality. That's presented in the media, on TV, very, very regularly, but you never see something on TV that actually draws attention to the fact that a woman's got her period.
What does that situation look like for another girl who doesn't have the money, who doesn't have Google, who don't, like, whatever the situation is, it's borderline impossible.
Yeah. Embarrassing.
And embarrassing. And I remember, like, walking back from IGA, and it was like blocks and blocks of shame with my clear plastic bag around, like, my buckets of sanitary products that I had no idea how to use. So that was a very, like, interesting experience for me, and one that was not thoroughly enjoyable. Anyway, what are your thoughts?
Oh, well, I think it's probably a bit embarrassing for all of us. Look, we didn't have much of a head start with these things, and there was an attempt in the late 60s. I think there was a little book that came out called The Little Red School Book, which was a Scandinavian book that tried to encourage you to ask questions. And it was on a series of topics that were all taboo, and, you know, sex was one, alcohol, drugs. There were a whole bunch of topics that were raised in the book, and it was really trying to get young people to feel that they could ask questions of older people, and that book was outlawed.
Really?
It's something that happens to a woman just simply because you're a woman. So yeah, it's different. It's hard to understand it.
Do you think we need to have more of a conversation about it?
Well, that's obviously going to help. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly something that I must confess I didn't understand a lot about, and didn't ever really learn a lot about, probably to my detriment. But I think obviously as a society we would benefit with a lot of things that are taboos by openly discussing them and feeling more comfortable about them.
Cheers to conversation and education.
Education and
Cheers.
having a discussion with the opposite sex.